So, we've had various TV ministries will not air programs that we do that have UFOs in them. Nor will they sell or air videos that we've done that had a certain person in it that was Howard Storm. Now, Howard Storm is a guy who had a near-death experience. Essentially, Howard went to hell, experienced it, asked for Jesus' help. A little tiny pinpoint of light opened up, and hands came down and lifted him out of there. So he spent the next few minutes with Jesus. At least that's what he says, and I believe him. I don't think he was kidding. And so I had him to dinner the night. I picked him up at the airport, and I said, Howard, I want to ask you stuff that probably other people aren't asking you. And I said, I want to ask you about what Jesus says about UFOs. And because I'm curious. And he said, well, usually I don't talk about it because everyone will think I'm crazy. I said, I don't think you're crazy, Howard. Believe me, not after stuff I've seen. So tell me what it is. So here's his answer, and I'm not trying to offend anyone, but I just think you should hear what he says. And I'm not promoting this as fact or biblical or anything like that, but this was his experience that he had. And before he had his near-death experience, he was an art director at a big university. And after that, he gave all that up and became a pastor. So he had something profoundly happen to him.
Did you ask Jesus about UFOs? What was his answer?
I asked two relevant questions. One was, is there life on other planets? And he said the universe was full of life, intelligent life. And I said, what do they look like? And so he showed me a parade of images. We didn't go there, and they weren't the beings, but just the images of the beings. And it started off with beings that looked like humans, and as the parade went by, they began to be a little stranger and a little stranger. Dr. Spock, pointy ears, things like that, and then they got stranger and stranger. And eventually, they were not looking human at all and looking more like undersea creatures or insects. I mean, multiple eyes and okay, it's really weird. Thanks. I got it. Because it was just getting too strange and just too much information. And then the other thing was, I said, well, are they here? Are they in this world? And he said, oh yeah, they're around a lot, but he said, it's better not to have anything to do with them. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, well, they're really not from your universe so much as they're from other dimensions, that they move through dimensions. And I said, well, where are the dimensions? And he said, well, the dimensions all exist simultaneously, occupying basically the same space. Wow. But they're not apparent to each other. You can't perceive them. But beings do learn how to move dimensionally. And so a lot of the UFOs are people moving through dimensions. And that he said, they have different intentions, but because of your capacity as a human being, and because of their capabilities, it's really better to have nothing to do with them, because some of them don't have good intentions and some do.
Okay, that's Howard's opinion of the UFO phenomenon, which I just thought was interesting and thought you should hear it. And this is the scripture I always use. And he said unto them, if they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded though one rose from the dead. So when I read that scripture a long time ago, I got interested in the near-death experience, and I've read, hundreds of stories from various people, and there's a huge similarity between them. And I just think it's insightful. So there's a spiritual connection between UFOs, alien implants, abductions, all that stuff, because what we're dealing with is not just high-tech stuff, but it's also spiritual beings, in my opinion, is what we're seeing. That has to do with the phenomenon of alien implants. This is an X-ray of a guy we call Bill, who happens to be a friend of mine that came over to my house to check the smoke alarms when we first moved in. He's 6'9", so he could kind of reach up and just grab it, and yeah, it's okay. So he saw my editing equipment. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm directing a series called Watchers. You know, it's the paranormal, it's the Shroud of Turin, it's UFOs, it's the Nephilim, it's all these different things." He goes, "UFOs?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, I really like UFOs." So I gave him Watchers 1, the first one. I hadn't done Watchers 7 then. And then he just goes, "I have an implant."